hard for their wonderful students, and RIC faculty deserve to be paid at a rate that is equitable and that is fair. Currently, full professors are being paid at a rate of 70% compared to those in URI, and that simply isn't right. It's time for the state of Rhode Island to step up and respect the faculty, the students, and the institution. Thank you.
So this is an issue with the state government and not necessarily the administration at RIC then?
No, the administration at RIC supports, it's very much supports this, and is in support of the salary.
Thank you. I guess just what exactly is the faculty's biggest issue, and what are you here for today?
The reason why all of us are here is that we're not paid particularly well, and that there's been a study that's been done about RIC faculty pay, and compared to our peer institutions, so not even, we're not asking to be paid the same as like Ivy League elites, but just compared to other state institutions in the area, we're severely underpaid. And so we've come out to try to get that message across to the post-secondary board that something really should be done to fix that.
What about you, Professor Kaiser? All right, thank you. Ken Hughes here. Now, you're not a professor at the school, but how do you feel about this whole movement?
Well, frankly, I don't think the state is giving us a fair shake. I think I don't think it's acceptable that our associate professors, our assistant professors, our new hired faculty make maybe 80% of what their compatriots in URI make. I think that's ridiculous. I think it's absurd. The college needs money to function. Everything at this college requires maintenance, groundskeeping, education, the things that you take for granted every day. Wet erase markers. It all costs money, and without money, we're not providing the best quality of education that we can. We are not giving our students what they deserve. RIC can be better. RIC is better.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Rhode Island College. I'd like to thank Rhode Island College for hosting us tonight, and glad to have such a great turnout here tonight. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have a motion to accept our agenda, please. So moved. Seconded by? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Thank you. And we do have a quorum. Thank you, Ron. We also have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 18 and September 5 special meeting, please. Second by? Second. All those in favor? Opposed? No? Thank you very much. First, I'd like to start with reports from the chairs, and we'll start with mine, actually. And I'd like to recognize all of our friends here from Rhode Island College. And in our normal course of agenda cadence, every other meeting we tend to have an open forum or an open mic period. This happens to be one of those meetings where we do not. But I do want to thank Kundi and some of her colleagues from the AFT who took some time this afternoon to meet with me and President Sanchez down the hall. We had a nice discussion, and thank you for being here and helping us understand the issues that are important to you. They're important to you, they're important to Rhode Island College, and they're important to us. I look forward to the negotiations that are ongoing. I understand it's been a very positive, collaborative effort, and we look forward to continuing that effort as they move forward. So thank you all for being here with us tonight. Also, I'd like to just mention a few other things that we're working on, and I'm sure Brenda, you'll go on to some of those, Commissioner. We're working on an initiative that was raised to me as we're moving into the chair seat from CCRI about FAFSA completion and trying to improve and increase FAFSA completion across the state. So we've partnered as the Office of Post-Secondary Commissioner with the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority, and we're looking at exploring the campaign to go do that FAFSA completion. I was pleased to find out that we're 8th in the nation on FAFSA completion, but we're not going to be satisfied till we're number one. So we're going to go work on that some more as well. Also, in response to a Senate proclamation and resolution, that we kicked off a working group to do some loan borrower protection. And we've got a working group that kicked off their first meeting last week with a broad spectrum of folks from across government to look to protect students from various loan and borrower protections that might be out there. Later in the agenda, you'll see a discussion item where we're going to make some modifications at a future meeting to our personnel policy manual, the PRC. You'll see that they're, again, in the process of learning what's good and not good in the process of being chair. Heard from a lot of the folks from the institutions about the process that we go through for personnel management, decision making. We're going to look to streamline that, make that more efficient. And then lastly, you'll see I'm wearing my sticker of vote yes on two. Yeah, I'll mention that one. We'll get vote yes on two. So there's a ballot initiative happening again in the November ballot for higher education to support some major improvements that URI is here against the Bay campus and here to the Horace Mann building. It's an important initiative, and myself and the rest of the council look forward to that positive result of the next ballot. And lastly, I want to thank the presidents and your leadership teams who have been onboarding new members to the council, and we had an orientation. So far, we've gone down and we've done CCRI and URI. We're visiting around college next week, and they've been fantastic. And I feel the existing members, you missed a great opportunity not having this orientation when we came on, but every meeting is an orientation, so we look forward to that continued education. So thank you to the college presidents for that. I'll turn over to Bob Cotton, Chair of the Board of Education.
I'm going to refrain from a general report tonight because our agenda is long. I'll just mention two occurrences that have happened. One is this past Saturday, we celebrated on the elementary side the teachers of the year, administrators of the year, a large education celebration as part of Water Fire on Saturday, and it was great to recognize some of our wonderful teachers. And second, I'm sure President Dewey's going to talk about it, but I will just echo what he's going to say about the Robert J. Higgins Welcome Center ribbon cutting today, and I'll leave the details to him. It was fabulous.
Thank you, Chair Cotton. Commissioner Dan Messier.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good night. Good evening, everybody. Looking forward to the end of the meeting, I guess, right? And I also want to thank Rhode Island College for hosting us today. And I'm going to highlight just a few items from my report that's in your packet. As many of you know, Prepare Rhode Island is an initiative to ensure that high school students are prepared for college and careers. It's a funded project called New Skills for Youth, funded by J.P. Morgan Chase and the Chief State School Officers. OPC is a part of the core team along with RIC, GW, Governor's Workforce Board, Commerce, and the Governor's Office. And we've been tasked with leading the upcoming Prepare RI Summit, which we will have an intentional post-secondary focus, and it's going to also be here in Rhode Island College. The work of the faculty and staff of all three of our institutions will be prominently featured at this event, and we're especially pleased to have Andre Perry from the Brookings Institute to join us as a keynote speaker. Andre will help us highlight strategies for increasing equity among students who access work-based learning opportunities. And as I mentioned, it'll be here at Rhode Island College on October 13th. And we hope to have many faculty, staff, and leadership from our institutions attending to connect with the employers, funders, and secondary educators, and others who are also involved in this work. And you can get, registration is in my report if you want to live to it right now and register. On September 18th, OPC held an Innovation Lab session focused on equity. That was, again, we were hosted here at Rhode Island College, and by the co-chairs of a yet-to-be-formed equity task force. The co-chairs are myself, Frank Sanchez, and Councilmember Jeffrey Williams. Our colleagues from the University of Southern California Center for Urban Education spent the day with us in Rhode Island to provide an introduction to equity and equity-mindedness. Thanks to the robust teams from CCRI, RIC, and URI for attending the event, and special thanks to President Sanchez and President Hughes for speaking to the audience about the importance of this work. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with our three institutions and our community partners to prioritize this work and to identify the task force members from our soon-to-be anointed task force. During the last legislative session, as Council Chair Del Judas mentioned, the Senate approved a resolution asking OPC to lead a working group to study how the state of Rhode Island can protect student loan borrowers. The group is scheduled to meet 4 times between September and January, and then report to the Senate President and the Speaker of the House on its recommendations by January. On September 18th, we hosted the first of the 4 work group meetings, and we were joined by representatives from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The Treasurer of Magazina was also there, Senator Metz, Representative Amore, and the Attorney General's Office, the Department of Business Regulation, and the Rhode Island Student Loan Authority. At our next meeting on October 10th, we'll discuss the roles and responsibilities of each of our agencies and offices in implementing state-level protection for student loan borrowers. I look forward to keeping you updated on this important body of work. Finally, in collaboration with the Department of Labor and Training and our 3 public institutions, OPC is requesting funding from the United States Department of Labor under the Scaling Apprenticeship through Sector-Based Strategies grant program. Rhode Island will be targeting its information technology industry sector by leveraging Rhode Island's public institutions of higher education to create a sustainable talent pipeline and leveraging the state's existing workforce development grant program, Real Jobs Rhode Island. The deadline to apply is October 16th. We look forward to keeping you updated on our grant application, and that, Chair Joe concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And the next item on the agenda is the notice of new programs that were submitted and reviewed for notification to the council. I'll turn it over to President Hughes to speak to the 2 items in this section of our agenda.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Dan Messier. I want to start by recognizing Vice President Costigan, Acting Assistant Dean Levitri, Professor Beauchesne, and Associate Professor Sneesby, all of whom are in this room. They know better than anyone else the journey that it has been to bring this degree forward to the council for your consideration. If I give you a little bit of history, 10 years ago we served 174 students in this type of discipline. We have increased by 135%. Last year it was 409 students. It is a career-focused degree offering seamless transfer to both Rhode Island College and URI, and is in recognition that we need to meet our student demand. It is the 6th highest enrolled discipline at CCRI. It is the top degree at URI and the 3rd largest at Rhode Island College. Part of this new degree, I think, includes exactly where our college wants to be going, which is an important experiential learning and internship focus. I am thrilled that the work that went into bringing this degree before you is here tonight, and I encourage you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now for the second.
Thank you. I said I got a book. One more.
All right, we have a 1-year certificate. As I think, as our college works to be increasingly responsive to employer need, this is in response to healthcare employers coming to the college and saying, our incumbent workers need this CAT scan training. So it's a 1-year certificate in tomography in order to meet new accreditation standards. So we listened carefully, again, led by Vice President Costigan, our Dean of Allied Health, Maddie Josephs, and our Peter Sear, our CAT scan technologist and member of the adjunct faculty, came together, designed a 1-year certificate. In its inaugural year, we project we will serve 15 students. The revenue generated by those students will support the program itself. We are excited to imagine how we can continue to grow this in order to meet employer demand. What we are hearing from our employers is both we have an immediate need from our incumbent workers, and we're looking to the community college to actually train the new pipeline for new workers coming out of the college into the hospital. So I would again ask that the council
Thank you, Madam President. Senator.
President Hughes, one of the questions with the inter-institutional considerations with regards to clinical experience, there is a notation that RIC has this program that RIC students have to find their own clinical experience, where CCRI is going to help students do that. Is there any way, and I don't see them as being competitors, but is there some way that we could work within the community to make certain that we know where those clinical experiences, where those opportunities are available for students? So students from RIC don't have to go hunting and CCRI. I don't know how that would work, but it strikes me that sometimes you hear programs say, oh, we have a limit on numbers because the availability of clinical experiences is limited. So it just strikes me that that's the way we could work cooperatively for the benefit of our students. So
I think it's an important request, and I will say, based on our experience, we have a very productive working relationship, both with the Vice President of Academic Affairs and the Vice President of Student Services. If you have a specific question about that, I'm probably going to ask Vice President Costa to take it, but I hear the spirit of what you're asking.
yeah, and that's
We
just
will commit to sitting down and talking about that. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Anybody else? Thank you, Madam President. Next on the agenda is our reports from the presidents, and at every council meeting we have a theme or a topic that we ask the presidents to speak on. And this one we're focused on data analytics to support academic and administrative decision-making at institutions. The reports have been submitted in writing, and the president will summarize those and any other announcements you'd like to make. President Sanchez.
Great, thank you, Chairman. So over the last really 2 years, the college has been very, very hard to establish an evidence-based culture and ways to leverage analytics and make data-driven decisions for the college, administrative policies, programs, services, even the allocation of resources. In many ways, I think higher education gets a bad rap, and I think rightly so, that oftentimes it's data-rich, but information poor. What we're trying to do at college now is to really leverage the data to develop stronger actionable intelligence. So it's guiding really the decision we're making. Because we're doing it in a number of different ways.
Just speak up, we can't hear.
Okay. Really our primary, is it better? So really our primary effort has been involving the use of the Oracle Business Intelligence Cloud Service. That's allowing us to develop a whole assortment of database dashboards at college. I'm not sure if this it's not
a little bit.
But we'll do the best we can. And they'll keep working on it, try to get it going. Thank you.
There we go. Maybe this is working better. Might be me. So let me just continue. Yeah, it might be me. So there's a number through the business intelligence applications. It's going to provide real-time data in a whole sort of areas. And one area, of course, is how we're looking at enrollments. And so the new student enrollment dashboard, now with this new technology, is going to allow us to look at and manage the deposits and enrollment figures, FTEs and credits, even looking at admin and dorm deposits, just looking at all of our enrollments collectively so that we can see where the gaps are, what challenges are, where enrollments are not flowing well and where they're flowing well. That's just one example. That new data dashboard is now in place. We also are putting in systems now to look at that data over time, so we can look at longitudinal data to see the trends and how new special initiatives, our new academic programs, our new policies, how they're affecting the enrollment funnel and the growth in enrollments at the college. We now have a holders dashboard as well. I think I mentioned when I first came on board, we were going to be looking at how we can improve the academic momentum of our students at the college. One area that needs to be looked at certainly is how we administer holds across the campus. There's many different ways that that momentum is kind of broken due to holds that are being placed on students. And so now we have a dashboard to look at anything from any variety of financial holds, even down to the dollar amount, to other holds that may be placed on students' records and stopping them from being able to continue their education. A couple more here. We also have now a dashboard looking at academic planning, going down much kind of the data mining, looking at students in terms of the number of Ds, withdrawals, incompletes, and failures. and looking at which are some of the bottleneck courses. We know there are a variety of gatekeeper courses that students have to complete in order to graduate. Are we offering enough sections? Are we making them available based on the student's need? This new data and dashboard is going to allow us to look at that in a much more sophisticated way and be able to target resources accordingly. Also, it's going to allow us, right now, we're just putting into place a database that will allow us to look at the mapping of class size distribution and track really the growth in some of our departments so that we can provide greater resources, potentially more faculty into those high growth areas, which is something we should be tracking very closely at the college. And then finally, back to enrollment planning services, we now have a system called EPS, Enrollment Planning Service, and then these are going to be geographic and demographic data reports on graduating high school students that allow us to identify in a much better way potential in college students, and then also look at the distribution or admissions officers and making sure that their time is productive and that there isn't overlapping territory within our admissions professionals. And so those are just a few ways that we are using new databases. Of course, this past year, we put in a state-of-the-art database for donor and alumni cultivation, which now is in use, and it's allowing us to track our alumni and friends of the college in a much better way, and allows us to do better follow-up.
Great. Thank you, President Sanchez. Questions for President Sanchez? Do we have sound working better? No.
We can't hear you.
Okay, don't move your microphones anymore.
People are moving them, that's what the scratching is, and they have to be set far apart from each other.
Okay.
They can't talk to each other.
President Hughes, test your microphone.
I'm
please.
sorry.
Good Lord. All right. Good evening and thank you. One of the key tenets of the CCRI 2018-2021 strategic plan is to support collaborative, data-driven, student-centered decision-making. I'm pleased to update the council on how we are utilizing data to inform decisions in order to improve college-wide performance. I'll frame my comments in 4 areas: enrollment, retention, guided pathways, and the Rhode Island Promise. I'm going to start by sharing with just how we use regular key reports in order to understand and drive our daily actions. Every morning, our Office of Institutional Research and Assessment delivers an enrollment snapshot to me, the senior leadership team, academic deans, and our admissions and financial aid teams. We then use that snapshot in order to update our overall headcount, registered credits, and day-by-day enrollment trends. Where the data is available, we're comparing our performance for the current term against historic data. These updates are helping us to work strategically to meet our enrollment goals by identifying potential challenges quickly and creating effective solutions. We are also using that data to ensure that the supply of courses and sections meets student demand. Each week, the academic and student affairs teams receive a report identifying which courses and sections are near or at their maximum enrollment. Division leadership uses this information to identify particularly high demand courses. So that's things like college algebra or gateway English. They then collaborate with the registrar to quickly add new sections, identify more classroom space, and reallocate faculty to teach these sections. What I can tell you is 2.5 years ago, we didn't have that report. We were reactive, and we infrequently were able to meet that student demand in a timely manner. So when we show you our report later this fall, and you see the increase in credit hours, a big part of that is the master schedule, which we've talked about here before, and using this kind of data in order to inform our decisions. Data is also critical to how we learn with and from our students. You've heard over the last couple of years a variety of presentations from our student services team about how we use behavioral science and data to deliver specific targeted messages to various student populations through several communication platforms. By segmenting the student population into distinct groups, departments, including our research department, student affairs, and the marketing and communications team, are able to deliver specific messages to different groups of students in order to effectively ensure their enrollment and their retention. In addition, we have developed a suite of surveys throughout the life cycle of our students to better understand their experience with our institution so that we can improve. We have collaborated with RIC, on the purchase of Qualtrics survey software licenses, which will provide both of us with powerful tools to improve our ability to design, distribute, and analyze multiple surveys simultaneously. We have not had this capacity historically, and it limits our effectiveness to truly understanding what the student experience is and where we can improve. This year, we began to survey our continuing students